So, as of the writing of this script, the most recent Five Nights at Freddy's game, Secret of the Mimic, has released just under a month ago. Well over 2 months now that I'm recording this, closer to 3. Getting these things done in a timely manner is not a strength of mine. I figured since the game was such a big deal, I'd make a quick video going over my thoughts on it. To give a quick spoiler-free summary of my thoughts, this game was something I was very excited for, and I do think it lived up to my expectations. You can feel just how much Steel will have improved since Security Breach with the incredibly polished presentation, possibly more so than any other FNaF game, the cohesive and quite interesting story, and the enjoyable gameplay that can get genuinely kinda tense. The environment and atmosphere are also very well done and complement the gameplay well. Alright, now for the more in-depth talk, which will include spoilers. It's already been a while since it released, but I figure I might as well put this warning here anyway. If you're still avoiding spoilers for the game, this is when you should leave. First off, I was totally right about the next mainline game after Help Wanted 2 being a larger prequel game focusing primarily on the Mimic, although I was not the first and certainly not the only to predict that. Interestingly, I and many others were right about Fall Fest playing a role in this game, though not to the extent to which I predicted. The game doesn't take place at Fall Fest. In fact, Fall Fest's importance is very brief. Instead, at the very cool location of Murray's Costume Manor, the establishment formerly owned by Edwin Murray, the creator of the Mimic, and the story is centered on uncovering the tragedy of the Murray family and the dark origins of the Mimic. While it was very much not on the mark about the game taking place at and being all about Fall Fest, it is implied that Edwin's wife Fiona died at Fall Fest, probably as a result of some kind of fire, as many have theorized happened at Fall Fest at some point, though details are unclear. Perhaps we'll still get that full Fall Fest game in the future? I guess this segues us well into touching on the lore. I don't want to talk about the lore too much, since this is only a review, not an analysis or theory video. However, I will say it is very interesting. They've made a lot of changes to what was established from the books in order to make a more unique story and more interesting game, which I am largely fine with. For example, in the books, Edwin simply lived in an abandoned lace factory which he bought and turned into a home and workshop, without any implication of the existence of Murray's Costume Manor or the detail of Edwin inheriting the building and business from his father. Fiona also doesn't die giving birth to David like in the books, instead surviving for a couple years into David's life and dying mysteriously at Fall Fest, and, most prominently, the existence of the two separate M1 and M2 Mimic programs, and the whole storyline behind that, with Edwin's robot wife and all. It's all very interesting stuff, and these major changes to the lore do call into question the canonicity of the Tales from the Pizzaplex books, which for many reasons have been accepted by many for a long time now as taking place in the same timeline as the games. But that's its whole own discussion, and I won't open that can of worms here. I will give them props for turning Fiona into an actual character, rather than just a fridging plot device to make Edwin more tragic. That was something I really appreciated. And it's seriously a big thing. Like, you have to understand, Fiona was a footnote in the books. The fact that she's an actual important character to the lore now is so weird. I can't stress this enough. This is like if all those crazy theories about Mrs. Afton were true. I feel weird about the whole M1 and M2 storyline. I do want to clarify that I think the game has a very good and interesting story, and I find the M1 and M2 storyline compelling in its own way. It's just that there was a very simple and elegant tragedy to the Mimic's established backstory in the books that I feel is lost a little with these new complications. Once again though, I do still like the story that we ended up with for the game. The whole secret ending with the silly little baby David Mimic is extremely surprising as well, and has very interesting potential implications. While this video won't have any kind of deep dive theorizing or analysis, I likely will make at least one video in the future, eventually discussing some of the lore we've been provided with this new chapter of FNaF, so stay tuned to hear me ramble about that. In terms of the game's location, I adore it. Murray's Costume Manor is a very fleshed out location with great environments, and it's so interesting exploring everything throughout the game. Nothing is beating the Pizzaplex for me, that's my personal favorite FNaF location, it's my baby, but MCM is most definitely awesome. Fun fact, I'm pretty sure Murray's Costume Manor is also the first mainline game location to have a fully detailed exterior, so that's honestly pretty cool. I found the gameplay of the game to game to be pretty effective. To clarify, I am no means the person you want to go to for an expert opinion on horror games, but the stealth gameplay in these tight environments with the constant looming threat and presence of the Mimic, I think it really works for making a tense and enjoyable game. In a lot of areas, the Mimic truly can be hiding in any costume you see, which I think does a good job of creating a tense atmosphere where you never truly feel safe. I can certainly say that the VR version of the game is going to be insanely cool and terrifying when they eventually release it. The game's puzzles are also pretty good. They help you break things up and diversify the tasks you complete throughout the game. Real quick mention here, Leon Riskin cooked spectacularly on this game's soundtrack. Dude, the name of the Mimic's end chase theme is Shapeshifter's Wrath. That's so cool. Kind of funny when the chase theme for the Mimic in Ruin was actually just called Mimic Chase. Throughout the game, the Mimic also takes control of 3 primary animatronics in addition to the many mascot costumes scattered everywhere that you will see him wearing. These are Jackie, Big Top, and Dolly, and I love all of them. What's funny about Jackie is that she was like the primary thing that Steelwool marketed the game with, like they used her a lot, but she ended up not being in the game much. Her segment was good, and I especially realized this upon a second playthrough, it's incredibly short. It's nowhere near as bad as Vanny, of course, and she was set up to have a much more important role than Jackie ever was. But it's still just kind of a shame that Jackie got snuffed in comparison to Dolly and Big Top, whose segments are longer, have more to them, and are overall more memorable. Of course, in addition to Jackie, we also face DJ Music Man's grandpa, Big Top. He's a wondrous, charming old gentleman who only knows how to say 3 words, and I love him. Nurse Dolly was a character who, upon seeing her design initially before the game released, I wasn't crazy about. But now that the game is out, yeah, I kinda love her. She's so oddly adorable that it makes me kinda feel bad about what happened to her. She isn't even sentient, she's not like one of the security breach animatronics, so I still just feel bad that the Mimic took control of her body and we made her take a bath in molten metal. I also ended up really liking Mr. and Mrs. Helpful, and I think it's neat that they essentially represent Edwin and Fiona. These two are obviously precursors to Helpy, but they're so distinct that I can't really think of them as the same thing. So I headcanon Helpy as their child. Their David, you could say. For some quick final thoughts, the Mycellium Men are awesome and I treasure them. The Clean-O-Vacs are so precious, I'll protect them with my life, and they are officially joining #1 crate as my silly little goobers, which I'll legally adopt as my actual children. I give my gratitude to whoever made the decision to be able to pet them. Everything with William and Henry was also interesting. The whole background subplot about Edwin doing contract work for Fazbear Entertainment and how it contributed to the downfall of him and his company. Also, this game finally acknowledged Chica's party world and gave us definitive establishment of it as a real part of the lore, which kind of blew my mind as a big FNaF nerd who knows that the concept of Chica's party world is something that the fanbase has been fascinated with since its brief mention in the source code of one of the sister location teasers. To rate the game, I'd say it's a high 8, maybe 9 out of 10. So yeah, that was my review of Five Nights at Freddy's Secret of the Mimic. I can safely say that this is one of the best FNaF games, and I think the series is going in a good direction. I loved this game and was happy to see that it wound up being satisfying for me. Sorry if this video was a little all over the place, I just wanted to make a simple video to yap about my thoughts and opinions on this game. While I have largely neglected this channel for a while now, I do hope to see you guys again soon with more interesting and fun videos. I don't want to risk making any promises on when my next video will be though. That's all from me for now, though, so good night ladies, gentlemen, and everything in between. Keep being awesome, and I'll see you next time. Have this Clean-O-Vac as a parting gift. He will bring you joy and luck.